Hello, everyone, and welcome to FCI Live, our Fall 2022 series. My name is JQ Hanna, and I'm the Assistant Director of Food Co-op Initiative. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the series. We are in our second week of the fall series for 2022, and we have a topic that I'm excited about. Jerry had an adorable name for this, ironing out the details. And when we had these images built, they're like, we can't fit all the words. But this is ironing out the details of how to offer t-shirts, how to order t-shirts, how to make it really work for you, for your co-op. And if you were at our session last night with Kenya Akbar from Gem City Market, like she was talking about how unbelievably critical it is to really get your name out there, to take every branding opportunity because you don't exist yet, right? And she brought that up. I was like, perfect timing, because t-shirts are one of the most important key things to kind of making your co-op look real and getting that brand out there, other than yard signs, which we might bring Jerry back to talk about at some point. But this is going to be all about t-shirts and how to do it and how to do it right. Jerry has gone through this process many times. He's been the outreach coordinator at Prairie Food Co-op, as well as the co-founder and a board member. And I am going to turn it over to him here. Thank you so much for being here, Jerry.
Thank you very much, JQ. Let me get my my presentation up to share. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, good. Oh, and of course, folks, feel free to throw the name of your co-op in the chat if you want to share where you're at and what co-op you're from, so we all know who's here. Thanks, Paula. It's such a timely subject. We just voted to order our second batch of t-shirts and hoodies, and we're thinking about all the details. Love it. Okay, turning it over to Jerry.
Awesome. Yeah, well, hopefully I'll have a little something for everybody. So I'll just jump right in. Who am I? I am Jerry Nash. As JQ stated already, I'm co-founder and outreach coordinator for Prairie Food Co-op. And I'll just say right now, please feel free if you have any questions. One, there'll be a Q&A at the end, but even down the road, if you have any questions about this or anything else, feel free to reach out to me at jerry@prairiefood.coop. I've been kind of doing outreach, just co-op stuff in general, for 10 years. And I love sharing information, especially information that you could only gain by experiencing it. And there are a lot of things like that in the co-op world. So please feel free to email me at any time, and I'll do my best to always answer and help you out. And a few notes about the following presentation. This is more of a case study. It's just what we've done over the last few years. And also there will maybe be a few holes in the process. I don't know if I can cover every single step of the way, but I think I got the bigger stuff covered. And also, a lot of this isn't going to be linear the way I have it. By necessity, I have to present this in a linear fashion, but I look at it as more, this is like juggling. You just got all these balls up in the air at the same time. So that's going to be, keep that in mind. Some of these things will be app and technology specific, so you're going to need to have the help of some tech people. But to me, if you're really going to open up a full service grocery store that costs millions of dollars, you should know some tech people to get you there. So you're going to need some tech help here and there. And you'll make different decisions than I. This is just what we've done. And I'm sure a few here have already ordered, hoodies, t-shirts. So you've got your system down. Hopefully you'll learn something from this. And also, I like to follow KISS, keep it simple, silly. As I've been doing this, as I said, I've been doing it a decade. I've learned ways to keep things simple. And that is very valuable if you want to protect your time and, figure out a way to do things as simple and straightforward as possible. And for example, I've done 4 t-shirt orders, and I think I've gotten it down to where I've minimized the nonsense and the hijinks that you can get into if you let others get you in that direction. So first, you may be asking, maybe not asking, if you're here, you're probably thinking about t-shirts, or you already have. But I'll go over the pros. One, having t-shirts, of course, is a great way to engage your owners, especially if you're early on in the process. You probably have a lot of people who are helping you, who are following your progress, and they're really excited about what you're doing. This is a great way to show, for them to show their excitement and engage them. Also, you're promoting your co-op while promoting your values. They're going around town, they're going to the gym, they're going to work, they're taking walks, they're at the grocery store, they're wearing this shirt, and people are wondering, like, what is this Prairie Food Co-op? Also, you can turn a little profit. I don't think that should be your main motivation for this, but it is a nice way to put a few bucks maybe in a outreach budget, or to do something, you otherwise maybe don't have the budget for. These also make great gifts and prizes. We'll go a little bit over that later. And also just make sure co-op look a little bit more credible. I think branding is a very important part of getting your message out there, and t-shirts are probably one of the easiest ways to do that besides yard signs. Cons, there are actually a few cons to this. One, just the plethora of decisions and considerations you're going to have to make. Whenever you do anything, especially regarding clothing or things that have sizes or different styles, you'll go down a rabbit hole of all these decisions and considerations you're going to have to make, like sizing, color, style. Also, you're going to have to think about how to order, how to pay, how to deliver. There's many different ways you could do all those things. That adds a dimension of complication. And following your values, it adds cost, and it can add time and labor as well. So first of all, probably the first decision you will make actually when you're creating your t-shirt is where to buy your tee, what material to have it on. And again, this is where you really want to show your values. And often this is the first time a co-op has the opportunity to really put on display their values. For example, you might think, well, should we get the t-shirts from a local seller or online? Well, this decision is probably pretty made for you, because there's not a lot of places to get, wholesale t-shirts, especially with the values you may want, in your downtown. So you're probably going to order your t-shirts online. And then what's most important to you as far as the values you want to put on display with your t-shirt? For example, do you want it made in the USA? I would say that's probably the lowest bar to clear. I personally wouldn't be interested in a t-shirt that's made in China. To me, that really would scream that this co-op isn't really following their values. I think made in the US is the lowest bar to go, but you can also consider union made, sweatshop free, and then you could get into a material. Do you want organic cotton? Do you want rPET material, which is basically recycled water bottles that they turn into this really silky kind of fabric? There's also bamboo, which is sustainable. So you can get into a lot of like, wow, should we do this? Should we do that? I think we've done a good job at Prairie Food Co-op. We have made in the USA t-shirts that are half organic cotton, half rPET recycled materials. So that covers a lot of ground. And to do this, we've gone with Royal Apparel. They're not the only t-shirt sellers that can offer these things, but they're one of few. There's also like, I think American Apparel. I think they're still around, but I think their options aren't as many. And many of y'all maybe remember the kind of scandal they had about a decade ago. So we just haven't really gone with them. And Royal Apparel's actually we've been happy with. They got a good product at a decent price. You will need to create a wholesale account if you work with them, if you want to get the dozen or case pricing. So you need to dig around and find certain things like your EIN number, and other maybe things you don't have day-to-day access to. And you can get dozen or case pricing with this, which means for every dozen, you'll receive a discount for each shirt. You should know, though, that doesn't mean you just reach a dozen and then you get, a blanket discount on all. It's for every dozen. So if you have 14 t-shirts you're ordering in one size and style, you'll only get that discount for the dozen. Those 2 extra will be piece again. So then you get to the fun.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Jerry? Can we
Yeah.
go back to that last slide? Something I want to point out that you put on here. You're such a natural outreach person. I just want to make sure others understand what you're saying here. When you say sell those values hard, like how would you make sure to talk about those values of the t-shirt? How is this an opportunity to sell it? I know it seems obvious to us, but I think this could use some clarifying. Like, how can you use this to sell your values?
Great. Thank you for letting me know. I did skip that. Yeah, it's just a good opportunity. Like every time you promote this in your newsletter, in your email, telling people on your Facebook, tell them that it's made in the USA. Tell them that it's our pet, half 50% cotton. Again, keep just promoting these terms. People do value that. And it's showing that you are legitimate. You're not just these, unorganized, well-meaning people trying to open this hippy dippy thing. You're really putting on display that you are, you're walking the talk. You're walking what you're talking. You are serious when you talk about buying local, buying, sustainable, things like that. Okay, now we get to the kind of funner part where you're starting to actually design the t-shirt. And your first consideration would be color. I'll just say Prairie Food Co-op, we've always gone with black. Black to me is classic and it looks good on pretty much everybody. And it goes well with other colors. One drawback of black is that it is warm in the summer, but if I think about it, any event we have, if we're outdoors, we're usually maybe under a tent, we're under some sort of shelter. It's very rare we're just at some event in the blazing sun. So that's mitigated a little. And some people, even us, we thought, oh, you know what? We'll give people a choice, But if you have different colors, then you're kind of maybe reducing your potential to get to dozens pricing. And that may not matter to you. Frankly, I don't know if that matters to me anymore as much, but that is a consideration. Also, so then you want to think about your graphics. I think the no-brainer is having your logo on the front, but then you might consider having a slogan on back. But of course, if you do that, that's more money. Also, if you have something on the sleeve, that's more money. So more places you print and more ink colors, that adds more money. And I'll just say this picture on the right. I took this picture when Sugar Beet opened. I forgot that I think there's 2 quilts that kind of float around and hang out at like co-ops from time to time. I think it's usually just open co-ops, but this was hanging out at Sugar Beet after they opened. And this is the second quilt, and we were lucky to get our t-shirt on there. But I just love this. I want to find a picture of the other quilt if possible, but I love looking at other logos. I love seeing other people's slogans. I love everyone's favorite theoretical grocery store. The pun lover loves Let Us Build a Co-op. I just love a lot of these. And another thing to make it fun and engage your owners is maybe hold a slogan contest. Last time we did this, and it really created a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. And what we did is we had our outreach team, our communications, our board, volunteers. We had them send in submissions because we didn't want 1,500 submissions to go through from all of our owners. Maybe we can figure out a way to do that in the future. And then we use something called Poll Junkie. You know what? That reminds me real quick. Bear with me here. I am pasting. Oh, darn it. Give me 1 second.
I'm going to exploit this moment to say I'm going to second Jerry about put your logo on the front. I don't care what else you want to do on the shoulder or the back, but put your logo on the front. I think too many co-ops trying to get really artsy or silly or fun, and they're like, oh, because we're bored of our logo. No one else is. They need to see your logo. Okay, now I'll shut up.
Oh, thank you for that addition. I just, let me get my screen back up. I just shared a few links of things I'll be talking about. Hold on.
Great. So if anyone didn't see it, Jerry just put a whole bunch of links in the chat connected to his presentation that will be really useful if you want to go check them out.
Okay, I'm trying to share my the actual Zoom again.
Are you seeing it as an option when you hit share screen? It should show a bunch of different screens.
Yeah, but what I have is desktop 1, but I choose the. Oh, you know what? I bet you maybe I don't have the. It's like it disappeared.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
I usually unshare, go to my PowerPoint and like get it on my, there you go.
You see it?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, y'all. Okay, so I just shared a bunch of links that I'll be talking about. If you have the time, if you want to look at them while I'm talking, go ahead. I would say if you want to look at them later, copy and paste them somewhere now, because the chat stuff I don't think exists after this. So anyway, we use Poll Junkie to whittle down our choices for or for people to rank vote their choices for the slogans they liked. And that whittled it down. After that, we whittled it down, I think, to just 8 submissions, where then we actually sent those submissions out in a form that we put in our newsletter. We put in a few newsletters that we sent out. And part of this too, just always be marketing. One of the questions was asked if they want to be notified when we actually order the tees, because that gives us an excuse to personally email them, say, hey, we're ordering our t-shirts, order here, instead of putting it in a newsletter and hoping that they see it. And then, of course, announce the slogan via newsletter when you choose the slogan. Okay, so you did all that. Now it's time to actually get to the point of creating your t-shirt, printing it up. Of course, I think finding a local printer, if possible, but to me, there's no shortage of printers around us. But I wanted to make sure that they did their own pressing, because a lot of printers will just contract this stuff out. So if I'm going to go local, I don't want to go with somebody who would just do what I would otherwise do to save money. So I don't want to pay them to do what I would otherwise do. So I wanted to make sure they actually printed them there. And we actually landed on somebody right in downtown Lombard. They own this cute little t-shirt shop for years. They kind of have a little bohemian hippie kind of vibe, lots of tie-dye stuff. But, it's a bonus because they're PFC owners. It's a bonus because they've taken on ordering, because, obviously that's Monica in the picture, by the way. She's got a lot of accounts at the t-shirt makers, so it's just easy for her to order them. And because we've actually had people pick up t-shirts there and buy t-shirts there, which we don't really do that anymore, simply because it didn't really, a lot of t-shirts didn't move there. And as far as picking them up, that you lose a bit of control if that happens. So if somebody has an issue with an order, you don't really know what happened. So we don't really do those things, but they were nice and they were fun to promote. And I would just say too, make sure you have a firm understanding of what the cost is going to be with the printer, what the timeline is going to be, all the logistics of it, because you want to mitigate any misunderstandings in the future, any hurt feelings, anything like that. So you're going to have to go in if you do this and have a discussion with them. But, by this time, I know Monica very well, and, it's a pleasure to go in and talk to her. And at this time, I'll talk about doing special order versus ongoing stock. When you're first starting, if you haven't done this before, you might think like, well, let's just order a bunch of one size or each size and then we'll have them on hand. We don't have to worry about the one, that would cost a lot of money to order, like, say, 30 of each size. Plus, people won't really buy them randomly. You may have these visions of like, oh, you're at events, and people are just, constantly buying t-shirts. It doesn't really happen like that. And plus, if you did, you got different volunteers doing different events, doing different markets, taking payment in different forms, cash, check. We don't always have the stripe ready to go at these events. So that's complicated. And then on top of that, where would you stock these t-shirts? We always have an extra on hand. And being outreach coordinator, I have a lot of them here. But I don't want hundreds of t-shirts at my house, and I don't want them in the basement. I don't, So to me, it just makes sense to order them in special batches. Also, the pluses of that is that special batches are just more exciting. Every time you have a new batch, it's a new opportunity to kind of create more enthusiasm, engagement. People get excited. People kind of get a collector mentality about it. Like, oh, the new PFC t-shirts are coming out. The new season's out. I want to get mine. And plus, if you're thinking, well, I'd like to have extra stock, well, believe me, you will have extra stock for a few other reasons I'll go over in a minute. Then you want to think about pricing your t-shirt. What is a good price? And if you're early on, you might think about giving two prices, one for owners, one for non-owners. We like doing that in the beginning because it put on display, hey, we treat our owners just kind of like when the store's open. Sometimes our owners get certain perks and discounts. Well, here they'll be getting a perk and discount. But as time goes on and we've saturated more and more of our community, it's really weird. I don't know. I'm sure there's a few people who aren't owners who order t-shirts, but not enough to warrant doing a two-pay structure. So at this point, we just offer one price. And for that price, you want to strike a balance of profit and value to the buyer. I tend to lean more towards value to the buyer. Because, even with that, we can make a decent profit while keeping the price competitive. And we could probably get more for our shirts, but why not make it a little affordable? More people can order them. And it never hurts to get a little thing in their head that something associated with your co-op was inexpensive. So I would tend towards more value. This is more nitty gritty. I copy and pasted the sizing chart with pricing for Royal. Up there, you can see the different prices for just a piece, dozen. And then I included what our last order was, what our printer charged, and that includes the wholesale price. So, and of course, it's by piece or dozen. It's reflected in the printer's price too. So that's just a little nitty gritty. And the 4 large is a lesser amount because Royal doesn't sell a 4 large. So she just took some from her stock. And since it didn't have the bells and whistles, it was much less expensive. And we emailed and let the person know it wasn't going to have the bells and whistles, and they were fine with that. So on the left is actually our last order, which actually totaled 140 t-shirts. Of course, you see the more common sizes, were more numerous, and you saw some were just 2 or 1. And at $20 each, we spent $2,400, made $3,000, and had a profit of near $700. And you'd add a little bit more because of extra shirts you bought, which I'll go over in a second, to meet your dozens pricing, and the fact that there will be a handful of people who will never pick up their t-shirt, and that'll just be eventually added to your stock. So yeah, at $20 each to get made in the USA, half organic cotton, half rPET, sustainable recycle at $20, I think is a steal. Okay, so you got all that figured out. Then you're gonna want to think about, okay, how are people gonna order the t-shirt itself? Well, again, in the early days, if you're just starting up, you may want to consider just a spreadsheet you send out to all your supporters. Hopefully you do have a newsletter list that you got going. or a Google form. And what I like about Google Forms, to me, they're simple to make, but on the back end, it just, you have a spread, it just goes to a spreadsheet basically. So you can just have people fill that out, but you got a spreadsheet ready to go when you want all that information. And of course, in this spreadsheet or form, you want to ask, you have a description of the t-shirts. I think on a form, you can put pictures. You want to let them know the sizes available and cost of each. And I'll let you know here, some extra large sizes are often more money. I think it's fair just to let them know that and say, okay, so we're going to add $3 to this. We at PFC, we don't do that because I think we make a decent enough profit even with the extra cost that, one, it just avoids headache. And to me, it just feels a little bit more inclusive if you don't charge extra for extra large t-shirts. But you also want to know how many they want, their contact info, and you want to have information about the cutoff date and when they can expect the tees. And I always go a little bit later than what the printer tells me, because if it actually ends up being late, well, maybe it's right around the time when I told people anyway. But if it's early, nobody ever complains about them coming early. So it's a good strategy to avoid headaches or complaining later. Also, part two, if you're a little bit more established as a co-op. I just skipped forward. So on this form, after you get all the t-shirt orders and you're ready to put the order in, obviously you need to get payment. And I would get payment from every single person before you process their order. And of course, there's got to be a time you have a deadline. And if they don't make it for then, it's just too late. Because people are people. They're going to mean to send out. They're going to mean to get you that check. They're going to mean to get you that cash. But many of them just won't. And I would say, if you're early on, you can send out invoices to all the emails of people who signed up. It's a little work, but you're just going to have to do that. And you can take cash a check. They can drop it off, send it to you, but it adds headaches. Again, you'll have people, I'll drop it off in your mailbox, or I'll do this, do that. And it never happens. You got to call them. And you got to provide receipts for that. At least you want to provide receipts in case something happens later on. You want to prove that, they want to prove that they paid and you want to prove that you got the payment. So to me, it's easier just to send a credit card payment. A lot of credit card processors, there's a way to send invoices through email and just have them pay through that. And you can see that they paid. It's an automatic receipt. And if you have for example, we use Nation Builder as our CRM, our database, and our website. You'll have the invoices that you can just easily input into a spreadsheet. Okay, then if you're a little bit more established and you have a web page, well, I would suggest making a nice, pretty web page to sell them, because it does a lot of the work for you. And they just look prettier and it's more simple. I will say this is a part where you're going to need a techie person. I can make a lot of these event pages and all that, but sometimes just entering a pay, coding it to take pay and all that gets a little complicated. So you're going to need some tech people to help you with that. But you could put a picture up top. If you've sold t-shirts in the past, well, of course, put pictures of people in their t-shirts. It's a great selling point. Also, if you have, say, your slogan that you've mocked up, get a picture of that on there. Also, I just copy and pasted the models with the pricing from the Royal spreadsheet and just, through Canva or Photoshop, just put our slogan right on top, or our logo. It looks very sophisticated. It looks like you got your stuff together. Very attractive. Also, another opportunity to sell your values, to keep mentioning the made in the USA, made with organic. You'll see on the website there, I actually italicized and bolded that. Anything else on this? Yeah, and of course, at the bottom there, I didn't include this, but ask for the same info that you would be asking in your spreadsheet or Google form. Okay, so people have ordered it. You've got like the quantities you need. And if you're early on, you may order himself, but you want to send out last calls for t-shirts and get ready to be annoyed because there will be a lot of people who always wait till the last minute. And some people even do it a day or two after the deadline. And I always put a little cushion for those people. That's like the most annoyance I'll take. I'll be generous and let them do that. But after that, after your real deadline, you can't take any more. You want to tally the final numbers and do this a few times and add up the numbers and make sure that you have one number and that you get to that number through multiple ways. And then put that in an email to the printer and make sure that they have that number too. And then in the future, you have it written down in an email so you avoid any potential conflicts. And then you order the t-shirts, you pull the trigger, you order the t-shirts. And I'll just say too, that your printer will probably want a deposit. With ours, it's 500. And then 500 later, once they print half the t-shirts, and then the rest after they print them all. All right, so you put in the order and then you wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you get them back. So the first thing you want to do is ensure you have the right amount and the right types. If you can do it at the printers because, once you take them off site, they might think, oh, well, you could have lost one or something like that. If you do it on site, there's no chance of that being an issue. But if you're like me, she's got a tiny store. Sometimes there's people in there. She's got product everywhere. It's just hard to do. So I just do it at home. But I get home and I organize all the tees by type and by size. So I'll have, men's large in one pile, men's medium in one large, and so on and so on. And I then put those in like big bags or boxes. And I clearly label those because if you don't, you'll forget, you'll keep having to check the thing. So just label what those are and keep them separate. Don't mix the t-shirts, of course. And then after that, you just want to go down the list, filling each order. And for this, you're going to want to create a spreadsheet from your invoices or from your original spreadsheet that people ordered from. And this only include the information you need to fill those orders and to maybe contact people. So just their name, size, all that, and their email so you can contact them afterwards. Then most orders will be just 1 or 2 t-shirts, and you can fit those actually into the old school paper bags. And I really like this because, they're simple. I like the aesthetic. They're compostable and they're very inexpensive. And then you just kind of put them in the bag, each order, and then you write the person's name on top. So if you're looking down in a bin, it's right there. And I write both their first and last name because you might get their last name wrong. So adding their first name just makes it easier for them to find it. And yeah, after you do that, the best way I found to get people to distribute them is porch pickup. I put these bags into weather-resistant bins with closable lids. If you're like me, I don't know, I have all these bins around my house for different uses, and I just accrued a lot over time. So I use those, but if not, you can find them inexpensive and, have the co-op pay for it. Co-op could always use more bins for all your events and stuff. And then we're lucky because, we have a big wraparound porch with a roof over it. So I could put it on our porch, and we have a few benches and chairs. Just put the bins on there. I put them in alphabetical order. I put like little signs on the bins, like, A to D, E to G, kind of like card catalog signs, if we remember what those are. And then I put them on the benches and put them outside. And this is where, you want to limit as much interaction as possible. And I've learned this over time. Calling and emailing for people to pick them up, it's just untenable. Just send out an email to everybody at once and say, come and pick them up. And also picking them up at events or markets. You may think, oh yeah, we'll do that, but that doesn't really work because not everybody goes to these. And then you got to be lugging these around to events or markets. Of course, there are exceptions. For example, last year we were in the middle of our capital campaign. We had this recurring weekly event that we wanted people to attend. So we'd say, hey, pick up your t-shirts here. So people had a reason to come to this event. And then when they're there, like, hey, do you want to make a loan to us? So it was a good reason to have them at an event. And, every now and then, if we have some huge event where we know a lot of people are coming, yeah, we'll take them, say, come pick up your t-shirts. But I'll stress again, make it as easy on yourself as possible, because even though you put up all these barriers to limit, complications, you'll get enough anyway. So save yourself some complications when you can. Oops. Okay. So yeah, in the email, you want to put the no-duh stuff, the address, but believe it or not, there will be things you maybe won't think to put. You want to put the instructions like, hey, yeah, they're in bins and they're alphabetized. You'll want to put things like, please be gentle. You want to put the time frame, like, don't come at 5 a.m. Don't come at 11 at night. A lot of people, you'll be surprised, won't know that. And yeah, tell them not to take other t-shirts. There might be an order or two wrong. Some people have taken other people's t-shirts, thinking everything will just work out. And in that email, I include a deadline, just to add a sense of urgency, because you're going to have to email these people to pick them up a lot. If you didn't send these emails multiple times, I think like a quarter of them would be left behind. And so send them out every few days. And yes, you will have a surprising amount of no pickups. For example, I'll just give you an idea. These and another box like this was what we've had left over from our last t-shirt order. And it was the same the previous. So, you got to have, a point where like, look, you just lost out on it. If it's within a few weeks and they're around, fine. But if somebody comes up to me 2 years later, like, do you have that t-shirt? No, maybe if I have it literally right there, but. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little. All right, so at this point, you got them all out, and you've done everything you needed to do. I would just leave you with some tips and suggestions. One, it's tempting to give them away, maybe. I've been at events where there's other organizations and they often just give their t-shirts away. But I think our t-shirts are valuable and we should treat them like they're valuable, and they cost us money. I think if you give things away like this, people don't look at them as valuable. The exceptions to that are, I'll gift them to people who've maybe proven themselves by doing a few farmers markets. They've shown up, and I think they've earned this valuable gift. It's not devaluing it, it's that they've earned this valuable thing. And also an exception is giving them away as prizes at events, because they're a prize. So it's not devaluing them, it's making people want them. I would just say, of course, you want to have a good representation of sizes if you're going to do this as a gift. You just don't want to have one women's small, and also, of course, have volunteers wear them at events, markets, meetings, and of course, take pictures of them. They serve so many purposes, these pictures. One, it's just great promotion. People love pictures of people smiling, and having your t-shirt is all the better. They're great, like if we're putting together a newsletter, and it could have something to do with nothing at all having to do with t-shirts, but having a picture of a smiling mom holding her baby, it goes with everything, even putting this slideshow together, I had a wealth of pictures to choose from. Like, I probably only used a fraction of the pictures I actually have of people in t-shirts. And with these pictures too, another way to get more pictures is maybe have a t-shirt pick contest. We've done this with yard signs and pictures, and people love sending in their pictures and their t-shirts, I would only suggest on that, make it more like you're doing a drawing of somebody who sent in. Don't make it like you're judging people. You're judging their kids, and so don't base it on that. And the last on this, it's t-shirt related, but not 100%. Just brand well in general. Going over these pictures, I'm very proud to see that we got a lot of signage on our booths. Many pictures of these beautiful booths with a lot of signage, yard signs, of course. But if you can get, floor displays, just branding well, I think has served us very well. The further in time I went looking at pictures, you just see people at a booth with no branding, no t-shirts, and really it looks kind of amateurish. So branding really helps your co-op. Of course, if you don't have the money and you're just beginning, of course you got to work with what you can, but I'd say spending a little bit of money on branding is very much worth it. And on that, I'll just say, again, I want to reiterate that please reach out to me anytime with any questions, t-shirt related or not. I love sharing knowledge. And I've gained a lot through experience, like something like this. So I can open up for questions.
We've got questions in the chat already, Jerry. I'm gonna start reading you a few to get us started, but people can throw in more. Are you dealing with the cost of goods sold and paying sales tax in Illinois? How much trouble is that adding? How are you handling that?
We just, of course, there's tax added to what we pay the printer, but we just basically frame these as donations. So we don't, there's no tax. It's just straight $20. We make sure to put, when they pay for it, this is a donation. That actually covers you a little bit legally too, yeah, and you don't have to pay tax for them. We should actually put donation on there a little bit more, but if you frame it as a donation, you don't have to worry about that.
Very, very good idea. I was going to say, God, yeah, it's a headache. And collecting that little tiny bit of sales tax and then filling out the forms. Very nice. Right. Mary Ellen says, we still sell ours as donations, which sounds like you do too, normally at our farmer's market for $15, but they do it at the farmer's market. When should we transition to selling online?
I'd say when you're able to handle it, if you've got the volunteer power, a few tech people, and you got the ability to make a web page. And yeah, if you can remember everything I went over, if you think you can handle that, I think that's a good time to do it. But make sure you're ready to, once you put that order in, you're going to need to get these t-shirts to people. They paid for them, they expect them. And so make sure you're ready to deliver on those.
I don't know if and please do feel free to throw more questions in the chat or raise hand if you prefer to do that. Something I want to stress that you brought up that I just think is brilliant, and I want to make sure everyone heard it, is, when you cart a bunch of t-shirts to an event and you lay them out on a table and people are like, oh, they're trying to sell t-shirts. And then Jerry's like, no, like we then have an event and you only sell t-shirts so many times a year and there's a tight little window and then you order your shirt if you want it now. I love that, Jerry. Just you were pointing out, I never really thought it through, the transition and how valuable an event like and exciting that seems, instead of like, oh, I'm avoiding this table because they're trying to push t-shirts. And I wondered if you just want to speak to a little more, how you've seen people react to that.
Yeah, no, it's almost become this, not annual, but event that happens every so often where, we're printing up t-shirts and now it's become this go-to way of, another thing we can promote, because you never want to run out of things to promote. And yeah, and if you can add to your arsenal of things to always be promoting, the better. And yeah, I just love the kind of collector mentality that's been created by this. And yeah.
Do you have the early shirt? But also I love what you're pointing out. So many of you, you'll know in stage 2B, stage 2A, early 2B, you're just desperate for ways to engage owners, right? And make them feel involved. And we're always thinking really big things, but actually a t-shirt buying event in the fall can be an owner engagement, can make them feel re-engaged with your co-op, which is just, so if you're in those we call them the doldrums of development where there isn't a lot to tell people, this is one way to stay super engaged with people and keep people proud of their co-op. And did you find it had that effect when you guys were doing it before you had a site?
Yeah, it kind of created some energy when we really needed it. I'll also say that I think they're also good for kickstarting a little energy when you want some, when you're actually maybe heading into something that you know, like for example, we are hoping to maybe secure a site in the near future. And I'm already laying out like when do we want to do certain things. And I know we have a t-shirt order in the near future. So I'm already kind of preparing for that in the near future because I want to kind of kickstart some excitement on that level while we're building engagement and excitement with the other exciting things. I kind of want this perfect storm of all this promotion going on at once.
And I love that point. So I'm just going to stress what Jerry's doing because I think he's so intuitive about it, is that he's really looking at their event promotions, what's happening year, and strategically planning the t-shirt order to fit into their, to keep the momentum going throughout the year or to enhance an announcement. But it's not random. And that's something that I think you guys have done incredibly well that I want to make sure is highlighted again, because you're so intuitive about it. You just kind of say it and I'm like, but I don't think a lot of people caught that.
Yeah, and I will add, this takes time and energy. It's not something you could just do in the background while you're doing it. For example, I even thought, could we get in one this year? But I just realized like we got so much on our plate. It'd just be too much to add right now. So I think it'd be great in the spring,
We got some more questions. Okay, so we'll only touch on this shortly, but Mary Ellen is asking basically what other swag are you guys selling? Are you doing hats, water bottles, or anything like that as well?
Yeah, well, I can tell you what we have done in the past. We've done tote bags, we've done aprons, but we didn't really sell those. Somebody just made a few of them to have at an event. But I'm always like thinking, should we do aprons? I think they're kind of fun. Oh, we did pint glasses in the past. Those were fun. We did coffee travel mugs in the past. In fact, I'm thinking of maybe doing one of those again. I'd like to do maybe balance, always having a t-shirt order, but also doing something where you don't have to worry about sizes or anything that you can just order a bunch with your logo on them, sell them, put them on your porch. It's very easy and very little work. So yeah, we've done those things. At the moment, we're not actively selling anything else. We've done stickers, things like that too, but never really sold them.
Okay. Paula is bringing up they're going to do a t-shirt order soon, as she mentioned earlier at the beginning. She said thoughts about delivering at the owner's meeting. They have an owner meeting coming up, or allowing ordering to happen there. Would you kind of engage the owner meeting as part of the process, in which piece?
Yeah, I'll say your owner's meeting, there's, that's probably an event that you'll get a lot of your owners showing up. Hopefully, you'll get a good concentration, and especially more likely the owners who show up there are more likely owners who actually order a t-shirt. So yeah, I'd say that's a good idea to bring them for delivery. Like I said, there are exceptions to bringing them to events, and I think that is a good one. Ordering them there are a lot of thoughts I have about that. Like, for example, maybe you could have a form up on a laptop that people can just do it through there. I'd say if you had a paper copy, you could do that, but you'd have to transfer that. And that sounds like a lot of work to me. And also, if you had the website, you could just have a few laptops with the website up as well.
Nice. I have a funny feeling Crystal's a little biased here. She just wanted to share that that's a very cute baby.
Yes.
I
agree.
I wanted to bring up, so Paula mentioned, and I've heard other stars mention, like, well, we really want to do hoodies this time, or sweatshirts, or long sleeve tees. I'm just going to share someone who did lots of t-shirt orders running a store that did them kind of event like, but never as thought through as Jerry, which is just taking it to the next level, I would stick with the short sleeve tees. And I wanted to know your thoughts, Jerry.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we've talked about hoodies and I'm still thinking about that. But even last year, a board member kind of just decided to do it on her own. And she just kind of said, oh, hey, I'll be in charge of it. And so like, she just started taking orders for hoodies internally. And a lot of people express interest at first, but then when she really tried to get people to kind of commit to paying for it, she started, oh, what size? I think she kind of realized, oh, there are a lot of considerations, and it kind of, I really didn't encourage it, but it just kind of fizzled away. Like, because that's the thing, the more you add certain options, and yeah, when I think of hoodies, I think of this big hoodie, which is great. Maybe you could get away with just ordering a few larger sizes, but you still got to order these larger sizes and have all these other considerations.
Yeah, what we found is that people say they want them, and then very few follow through when they find out the real price of a decent hoodie. And then you get all the size issues. So my thought is, have you completely saturated people on your t-shirts? And if so, can you do something fun and new with them to make them more limited edition? But I'm just going to always push staying with the short sleeve t-shirts. We did long sleeve t-shirts. We did baby onesies. They were all mistakes, I will just tell you.
Yeah.
Unless you want to put your logos on one of those, like they can pay that credible price to have it printed in the ones, themselves.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah. I wanted to know your thoughts about it because I was like, I know my bias, but
yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. As time goes on, I've kind of developed this sense of like, it's just going to add more dimensions. It's going to be harder. And I think I come off as kind of grouchy or the fun killer. But I'm often just like, yeah, but we're going to have to think about this, think about that. But having said that, I'm thinking, and I'd like to talk about it with the O&O, which Crystal, thank you for showing up. But maybe introducing a new color, maybe introducing a few more, as I said. Maybe to the point where I'm not that concerned with hitting dozens pricing. So then maybe that could open up offering different colors. But again, there's always different considerations even on top of that. And I will say for like the picture, little Ozzy, Crystal's little one right there. That was a gift from the outreach team and the board to Crystal. And we've done that for a few other co-op babies, PFC babies. But yeah, I think trying to sell those would be very not in our best interest. They grow out of them in like a week, so they're not very practical, but they just make like fun gifts.
I think you're right about that, though. I think I would have liked that approach. Like core volunteers and owners would be great, but we had some core volunteers and owners having babies, and so we got them. Now we've got we had almost 7,000 owners at the time, and I didn't sell a dozen baby jumpers. So again, they're wonderful. I love the idea of having custom made for core owners and volunteers as a gift. But I think we think, oh God, people are bored of X t-shirt or they're bored of X image. And the reality is the vast majority of people aren't. And I loved your idea for the owner, the owners getting to give input on like a new catchphrase on the back or whatever. We did do art ones where people could submit art and vote on art. Don't ever do that. Just going to share that. You're going to hurt someone's feelings when a design is picked that looks absolutely horrific on a t-shirt. Let's just leave it at that.
That's actually great input. Yeah.
It's didn't work out. Any last questions or anything? This has been really informative. And I did see the note saying people would like the details that Jerry shared, cut and paste it out and put in an email afterward. And I will email it to y'all. I can do that tonight. Any other last questions?
I just want to say I appreciate the feedback about the hoodie. I'm wondering if we just put it out there to the owners. So you've run into problems where they say they want it, and then when it comes to paying, that they don't?
In that case, it's just that we put a lot of effort into finding the right type of hoodie and putting it out there as an option. And even
Yeah.
when we did pre-orders, very few people took us up on it because I don't know, maybe you can find something cheaper, but to find the quality that our owners were going to demand, the kind of
Right.
values, the pricing was really high. So it just ended up being a lot of work to even put together the option, and not many people took it.
Yep. Yep. Good. Thank you.
Good point, JQ.
Anyone else? Okay. All
Well,
right.
thank you all for showing up and spending your little bit of your early evening with me.
I'm so glad we have this video. I mean, this is going to be so valuable to so many people, the levels of details and information. So thank you guys for showing up, and thank you to Jerry for coming and sharing all this and building all that informational slides. It's just so useful. You can tell when someone's been through it and wish that there had been a guide. They make the best tutorials. We do have, just so folks know, 2 more sessions coming up tomorrow. Don't miss Katie Novak tomorrow at noon Central. She's going to be here talking about if you're going to be doing any kind of individual donor or owner investment campaign. She's going to be talking about the silent phase, which a lot of people are confused about and is so critical to the success of your campaign. You need to know about it. So she'll be here talking about that. And then tomorrow evening, we're going to have a terrific panel on the future of Black cooperation and Black cooperative organizing with Ron Hantz from the Center for, and I'm losing it, but it's going to be a really good panel. The name's not coming to the top of my head. It's been a long day, but make sure you check out our website for that information. And I want to thank our sponsors real quick. We couldn't do this without the USDA, National Cooperative Grocers, National Cooperative Bank, and CoBank. Thanks so much to them. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.